Hey everyone, welcome to our session today on advanced calling capabilities. My name is Alan Shih. I'm a program manager for calling on Microsoft Teams client, and I'll be talking a lot about our new user experiences today surrounding calling. But first, let me introduce my colleague Roy here.
Thanks, Ellen. I'm Roy Kuntz. I'm a program manager on the calling area within Teams that work on a lot of the back-end features around how Teams voice calls are routed and users are provisioned and so forth. Excited to be here.
Today we're going to talk about a number of different things. I'll get started with the modern calls app and collaborative calling experiences that we're excited to show in the new Teams client. And I'll hand it over to Roy at that point to talk a little bit more about some of the new work happening with our auto attendant and call queue services, as well as some new tips and tricks about our phone system deployment. We'll get started with the new Modern Calls app. We're really excited to debut a completely rebuilt modern calling experience in Teams that focuses on being a hub for all of an individual's personal calling needs and additional rich calling metadata. The new calling app provides a dial pad that allows a user to dial by name or number directly from the search bar, and provides at-a-glance visibility and mutability of important call forwarding and hardware device settings right in that bottom left-hand corner. Finally, the most important new centerpiece of this calls app is the new call history and voicemail table right in the middle, which showcases all of a person's calls since they joined the org, and it shows additional metadata pertaining to each individual call. For instance, for a potential call from a colleague, you can see individual metadata from the global address list about that individual caller, as well as for a voicemail, you can see inline visual voicemail with play bar, scrubber, and voicemail speed. We'll actually now just take a look at a brief demo of the Modern Calls app, which is currently in internal beta for certain users here at Microsoft. So to get started, we can take a look at the live experience, starting with the dial pad, where I can type a PSTN phone number or a name of somebody who is in my org via the global address list. And I can actually initiate a group call, and if I have delegation enabled, a call on behalf of myself or the people that I support. I can also edit the pills in the dial pad and initiate the call directly from the call button. And this is our new multi-window calling experience here. In the call table, you can see immediately that that history entry has been updated, and that there's a new right-hand summary pane which shows specific metadata about the call, provides an easy access point for chat, and we also have additional call filtering mechanisms in the history table which allow us to filter by call type as well as voicemail. We also support searching for an individual call history record by number or name, and we can find any past call that's currently in the table. Here we have a voicemail experience where we can see a previous voicemail left by a caller, play it inline, get the visual voicemail transcript if available, and adjust the speed as well of the voicemail recording. We also have additional speed dial capabilities as we did before, and we have one click to dial for any contact in your speed dial, because we know how important it is to be able to call those folks as quickly as possible. On the left-hand side, we have additional capabilities around call park, as well as call forwarding and call device settings, in addition to providing an access point to the traditional settings menu that we know and love, which is still accessible via the profile picture in the top right-hand corner. We'll now take a look at collaborative calling. In terms of the Modern Calls app experience, we also wanted to provide a new rich canvas for individuals working in the context of call queues within Teams. Today, agents who are a member of a call queue get their calls from the individual calls app, but there's no canvas for agents and supervisors working on a call queue to collaborate and work together. So with what we're calling the collaborative calling experience in channels, we can see now that a call queue can be collaborated upon by individual call queue agents from a channel construct, such that individual agents can see the shared call history and voicemail for the full call queue, as well as the individual status of all the other agents who are currently in the queue. And if this looks familiar, that's because we really built this experience keeping in mind parity and consistency with the modern calls app that we just saw. Now, let's take a look at what it takes to provision this collaborative calling experience. Today, a Teams admin needs to go to the admin center to provision a call queue. And in this example, we'll assume that this admin has already provisioned a call queue with the appropriate resource accounts. Now, if we look closely at the call answering section, we'll see that there is both a manual and automatic process that has been introduced. The traditional process of linking, of adding agents to a call queue is via the manual user by user or group by group process. But with new collaborative calling, we can use the automatic process to find a channel and specifically identify the team channel and link to the call queue such that the members who are a part of the channel that we've identified are directly synced with the membership of the call queue. Now, there's no more worrying about maintaining the membership of the call queue manually. Instead, the membership is synced directly with the membership of the channel. And now that we've saved that, we can see in our configuration that this membership has been updated and this call queue now is directly synced to that particular channel. So what does that look like? We can also look at a live demo of collaborative calling, which is again in internal beta here at Microsoft. We can see here that this is the modern calls app experience that we explored before. And from the modern calls app experience, we can see that the traditional set of call queue settings is still within this calls setting menu for toggling an agent's opt-in, opt-out status. But if we go to a channel, and we can see here the membership of our channel, we see that post the linking process, there is now a new calls tab which surfaces this collaborative calling experience. The shared history and voicemail table now shows the individual agent who has picked up a call. And we also have a dial pad for outbound calling with dynamic caller ID. There's also an individual agent's ability to opt in or opt out of taking a call, and we can see the same status for all the other agents who are currently a member of this call queue. We're also able to receive a call to our call queue, and as we wait for this call to connect, we can see that this will update in the call history. And while the call is ongoing, we're also able to directly collaborate with other agents in real time via the Posts tab that currently exists as part of the channel framework, which enables a real-time collaboration between agents looking to collaborate on triaging an inbound call. Now I'll pass this over to Roy, who will talk a little bit more about some of the services and infrastructure powering these experiences.
Thanks, Ellen. In addition to some of the collaborative calling experience improvements around the agent that you just demoed, we've been making a lot of additional improvements in both the auto attendant and the call queue services that are offering enhanced capability to both of those services. First, let me recap some of the features that we've just recently released over the past several months, and then I want to talk a little bit more about a couple of exciting new features that we're expecting to release over the next quarter or two. First is presence-based routing. To this point, we've only allowed attended or serial or round-robin routing and didn't take into consideration what the state of the agent actually was when offering a call to that agent. Now with presence-based routing, we actually look at whether the agent is actually available and not on a call when making routing decisions. Related to that is we now offer longest idle routing. So in addition to the existing routing mechanisms we have, presence-based routing allows us to also invoke the capability of routing a call to an agent in a queue that's been available in the longest amount of time. This is very commonly used in the industry and has been received very well to this point. An additional capability that has been asked for quite some time, and I'm happy to announce that is now available, is the ability for both the auto attendant and the call queue applications to transfer a given call to a PSTN number. The transfer to PSTN actually works with all three of our PSTN connectivity models with Teams, one of which is calling plans, the other is direct routing, and the third is with Skype for Business Server on-prem if it has PSTN integration. The routing method is basically chosen the way a regular user's routing method for PSTN is. In the case of calling plans, for instance, the assigning of a calling plan license to a user automatically routes calls from a given auto attendant's resource account, if it's licensed with this calling plan, to our calling plan PSTN infrastructure. Similarly, with direct routing, the resource account of either the auto attendant or call queue can be configured with an online voice routing policy to steer those calls to a specific direct routing trunk. And then finally, with Skype for Business Server, it's actually transferring that call to a user that's on-prem that has PSTN call forwarding configured on them. The last feature that is just now shipping is the capability to provide an announcement as an auto attendant menu. This basically allows an auto attendant menu to be configured to redirect to a specific announcement. So an announcement can be recorded or uploaded for an auto attendant, and the menu can now be point to that specific auto attendant. In addition to these recently released features, there's a couple of big features that we are in the process of shipping. The first is a long sought ask and a very important feature for managing call queues and call center agents is analytics. So we are now offering historical reporting around both auto attendant and call queue information on calls. The data is actually broken into two broad categories. The first is summary information of a given call queue. So for instance, you can see now a given call queue or auto attendant, how many calls they've answered, offered, or were disconnected over a given period of time, such as a day or every day over the past number of months. There's also detailed call queue and auto attendant information about a per call basis. How many calls came in, what the calls actually were on a call-by-call basis. The same two dimensions are available to agents. There's agent summary information. For instance, a given agent is the summary of their call capability for a given day or a period of days is available in terms of how many calls they've answered, what the average talk time is, and so forth. And as much as with the call queue and auto attendant details, the agent detail information is available as well. The first incarnation of this is available by a Power BI template, so it allows Power BI queries for various dimensions of this data. We are expecting over the course of time to offer that in the Teams Admin Center. This is actually expected to be in preview by the end of Q3 this calendar year and will be available as generally released sometime thereafter based upon the feedback from our preview program. The additional feature that I talked about that is pending to be released is something called delegated announcements recording for auto attendants. So a very common scenario is an auto attendant greeting needs to be changed essentially by the day, possibly based upon such as a weather condition, or maybe a store is not able to open in time due to somebody being ill and things like that. So we are allowing an early version of an auto attendant supervisor or a delegate to be configured on an auto attendant basis. And this basically allows that user to call into the auto attendant and actually be prompted through a series of prompts about changing the greeting for that auto attendant whenever they would like. That again is expected to be in preview probably in Q4 of this calendar year, and again will be released generally based upon the feedback of that program. There are a number of other topics that I get inquiries in terms of capabilities, where the product is heading, other sorts of insights that I actually want to kind of speak to give people a better idea of some of the capabilities that are in our product in this area, as well as where we're heading around some of these areas. The first off is emergency calling. We introduced dynamic emergency calling late calendar year 19. This is particularly used in the United States, but it's applicable for direct routing in other countries as well. But in the United States, it allows a tenant admin to define their own locations, and the Teams client pick up very granular locations, and calls from those Teams clients are automatically routed to the closest PSAP for that location. The question associated with that is, in the US, there's a regulation now called Carey's Law. Carey's Law mandates several things, largely that emergency calls don't have to be prefixed with a 9 or another trunk code in order to make the call. So anybody can dial 911. They don't need to dial 9 or 911 in front of that. And the other things that are in there are mostly around security desk notification and having the security desk get a granular location as part of that. So the Teams infrastructure provides all of that capability. We are Carey's Law compliant. Security desk notification is built in as part of our conferencing experience. Security desk members can be bridged into a call in different conference modes, including even listening in if they would like. And they're provided the location information as part of that experience, and that the call can even be recorded. A few other topics around dynamic emergency calling, one of which is Link Layer Discovery Protocol Support, or LLDP. It's a common mechanism for an admin to use an Ethernet switch or Ethernet switch and port to provide a really granular location to the Teams client. This capability is supported currently within Windows because Windows offers LLDP natively. We are currently looking at how to provide the capability into the Macintosh operating system, as that is not a native component of the operating system, as well as for the Teams IP phones. The IP phones have the information in today. It's just not integrated into our API running on those phones to identify a location. I don't have exact times where both of those are expected to be released, but we're actively working on them right now. A few other topics, one of which is associated with a static location for direct routing. One of those capabilities is that admins actually want to have a de facto experience much on direct routing users for emergency calling, much like we provide for calling plans today. It's the point taken. It's something we're investigating right now. I don't have a time frame for when this is. The main thing to denote, the initial reason we didn't do this is because those calls are screened within the United States for direct routing, much like they're screened within calling plans for a user that either has a static location or we don't have a location, such as they're actually at home. So the default experience is screening. We are expecting to make some improvements to provide a direct routing static location for those users shortly. And that will allow the screening center to have a default address if the user's calling. The last topic in the emergency calling area is just general work at home. Currently, the experience today is the client only picks up a dynamic location when it's actually on a managed corporate network. And with the pandemic, there's a lot of interest in ensuring that work at home and emergency calling works. As I stated earlier, when the Teams client makes an emergency call without a location in the United States, those calls are screened nationally to figure out which PSAP the call actually needs to be routed to. And once that screening center obtains that location, the call is then transferred to the right PSAP. We do expect to make some improvements in this area to allow the end user to actively manage their location when they're remote, as well as to improvements generally about automatically obtaining that and automatically routing that to the PSAP when applicable. So keep an eye out for investments that we're making in this area that should be available in the midterm, I would say. A couple of other topics, one of which is phone system deployments in India. And the topic here is largely a lot of inquiries about, is Teams phone system compliant to be deployed within India? The India telecom regulations are complicated, and they're actually broken into two broad categories. And I'm grossly oversimplifying this, but in general, there's a category called other service provider, or commonly just referred to as an OSP. This is a set of regulations that allow call centers to be deployed in India, and yet the PSTN calls for those call centers are actually originating from either remote parts of India or actually outside of India. And this is strictly managed in terms of auditing capabilities and so forth. To this point, we're expecting the DOT to issue some guidance on how cloud communication systems can be used for OSPs in India. And hopefully that will be shortcoming. In the interim, some telcos are providing some nuanced solutions in this area that you can investigate if this actually meets your needs. The non-OSP deployments are more geared around non-call center, or what we call knowledge worker deployments for phone system. And Teams is compliant for those. I was personally involved in going to the DOT in India and obtaining this compliant approval from them. And we have a number of customers that are actively either deployed or in the process of deploying within India. There's a couple of capabilities we provide as part of that, as any given deployment within India for non-OSP, is to ensure that toll bypass restrictions are adhered to, and we have a capability called location-based routing that is actually available to enforce that. The other requirement is media bypass needs to be configured in India, and again, that is in the product as well. Several other topics besides India, phone system and dynamic emergency calling. There's a lot of PSTN spam calls currently in the industry. People probably see this on their cell phone. We have made some improvements to identify certain PSTN calls as potential spam. And that is going to be in our preview program here in the end of the quarter. The experience is largely providing the Teams user an indication on an incoming PSTN call, the likelihood that this call is actually spam or it's not a spam. In due time, some of these calls will likely be blocked automatically when we can determine with a really high degree of confidence that these calls are actually indeed spam. An additional thing that we've had for some time is a tenant capability of blocking certain numbers that are repeat spammers. That policy is available and continues to be available to also actually block certain numbers or number patterns that a given company might identify as being habitual spam calls. Caller ID improvements categorize into feedback into a couple of different areas. One of which is currently we have a caller ID policy that only supports service numbers, and those are the numbers that are part of the Microsoft offering of PSTN that are assigned to auto attendants and call queues. Customers want to assign those same numbers that they're using for direct routing assigned to auto attendants and call queues as part of their caller ID. That's expected to be in preview around the end of the calendar year and hopefully shipped shortly thereafter. And dynamic caller ID, which is allowing a given person to have the user experience with Teams to choose on a per call basis what call ID that call is actually sent out over. As Ellen talked about in the collaborative calling experience, this is built in natively into the Teams experience there, and we are expecting that. Again, it's in an internal beta, but hopefully it will be available broadly in short order. Last topic for me to cover is the survivable branch appliance. This is used heavily in the industry on many different platforms, have a capability to provide PSTN resiliency or PSTN calling resiliency in case my WAN link or a WAN link is disrupted. The users can still make and receive PSTN calls. We've been working with our session border controller partners to provide some software that they are actually hosting on virtual machines running on the SBCs that actually perform this branch office resiliency. And if, for instance, our clients detect that the connection to the cloud is essentially not available, this appliance and our Teams clients go into branch office resiliency mode, and inbound calls and outbound calls are actually supported directly between the client and the SBC. That is, again, another feature that's expected to be in preview about the end of the quarter Q3, and hopefully will be into generally released shortly thereafter. So that summarizes our talk today. I want to thank Ellen for presenting with me. We covered several different topics. I hope you enjoyed them. First, we talked about the modern calling experience that Ellen covered, as well as the collaborative calling experience around a new and innovative way that call queue agents can communicate. We talked quite a bit about the enhancements that we've recently made to call queues, as well as a couple of new features to be on the lookout for over the coming months. And then lastly, a number of specific items covering emergency calling, particularly within the US, PSTN and phone system deployment within India, as well as other topics around phone system in general. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.